Everybody, this is Perch. We're looking at Newsarama, and to set your expectations here, Disney Plus has a brand new series for She-Hulk, and this is the same She-Hulk that when it came out, or the trailer, I should say, came out. She-Hulk looked weird. The CGI did not look finished. It had the uncanny valley. It was more like the uncanny canyon. It was just odd looking. And there's some speculation, hey, the CGI isn't done, it's going to get better. And then it became clear the CGI wasn't going to get better. And then there's a whole bit about, hey, those CGI workers, those SFX workers, or FX workers, I should say, not sound, although probably them too. They're mistreated by Disney. They work long hours, they don't get paid well, it's kind of an abusive relationship. And what was weird about that is when they started really rolling with those stories, the first thing they did was they pointed to the toxic fans saying, hey, they're working for slave labor. You should be more appreciative. And then it's like the light bulb went off in some people's heads. And they're like, hang on a second. I don't know if that makes us look particularly good that we're saying, hey, we've got these people that are working sweatshop hours and we horribly mistreat them. And so, because we're doing that, you should be more grateful. It's like, ooh, that's not a good look. So then it became like, all right, let's calm down. It's like, hey, why are these people bitching anyway? They know what they're in for. They get to work on a Marvel movie. It's magic. Even if you're paid like crap, it's fine. So that kind of went away. And instead it was replaced by if you're complaining about bad CGI She-Hulk, it's because you're a misogynist and you want to own women's bodies that are made from computer graphics. And if you think I'm kind of exaggerating this or paraphrasing it, I am not. That is what they went with, which was pretty weird. But anyway, the CGI is lousy. Anyway, the show is out on Disney Plus right now. You can watch the first episode. It's fine. I mean, it's the same kind of quirky, weird shit that's been going on for a while in the MCU. There's lines in there that are just kind of bizarre. Like She-Hulk makes some comment to Bruce about, you don't know what it's like. It's really hard being this. And it's like, a couple movies ago, Bruce Banner was talking about trying to commit suicide. And he couldn't even do that because when he shot himself in the mouth, when he sucked on the end of a pistol and pulled the trigger in an attempt to blow out his brain, he transformed into the Hulk and just spit out the bullet. But yeah, Jen, you've definitely got it rougher. I don't know. It's always weird to me when they kind of forget some of these things. It's like, well, we need to make her struggle look a little bit more real. And there's a scene in a bathroom where Jen comes like into a women's bathroom and she's all kind of beat up and everything. And the women there are like, oh my God, something pure. They all jump in to support her, which, I don't know. I mean, I had a friend who had a really, really horrible thing happen to them, and she went into a convenience store trying to get some help, and what her memory is that the women wouldn't make eye contact with her and wouldn't help her, and it was this elderly guy that wound up getting her a cab and calling the police, and it's like, that's a story for another time. But anyway, whatever. It is what it is. So Newsarama basically put out a list saying, hey, if you're going to watch the Disney Plus show, you probably want to read some comics. So they say, here are 5 She-Hulk comics to read before watching the show. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll bite. I'm a big fan of She-Hulk, and certainly they're going to have some of the comics that I remember most in there. And I've got 3 different runs and 3 different comics that no doubt will be here. And as I read through the list, spoilers, the 3 biggest moments in my mind did not show up in this list. So am I an oddball? I don't know. Let's see. Now it's up to you. So let's see what 5 comics you should read, according to Newsarama and writer George Marston. Hey, spoiler. John Byrne will not appear in this list in any form or fashion. Huh? All right. So now that you're armed with that, buckle up. Let's go. So what are the 5 comics here? So number 5, or the first one, is Secret Wars. So this is kind of an odd one. I mean, She-Hulk is in Secret Wars, but she's not one of the more notable characters there. So what is it they're thinking about? As it turns out, they're talking about Titania, who first appears in this comic. She shows up there, and then they make a little comment about, the Wrecking Crew, and you should check that out. So that's what they go with. Is and so okay. I mean, Secret War is a great comic. Certainly nothing wrong with that. As they point out, there's an Avengers Secret Wars movie that will absolutely probably have absolutely nothing to do with this comic, but still, this is anybody recommending Secret Wars. It's not a bad read, and the villain in one of the villains in the She-Hulk Disney Plus series will show up here. So okay, we'll give him that one. Good comic. Little strange to lead off with that, but all right, we'll bite. So let's go to number 4, Savage She-Hulk #1. All right, this one I can go with too. This is the very first appearance of She-Hulk. This is written by Stan Lee, John Buscema, and that's a pretty legendary crew as well. I mean, you got Shooter and Zek here, and you've got Lee and Buscema there. I mean, that's going to be a good afternoon if you're reading these comics. So this is a great portrayal. First appearance of She-Hulk. Definitely want to note. I'm a little bothered by this line. It doesn't quite introduce the version of She-Hulk that would eventually become her definitive portrayal. I mean, sort of. I mean, yeah, Jennifer Walters went through some big changes in this, absolutely. But that's kind of a weird thing to lead off with in your very first sentence. But okay, here that's number 4. Are you ready for number 3? Remember, there's only 5 in this. Ready for number 3? I just kind of spoiled a little bit with the scroll, but yeah, this is where it gets confusing. This is the volume 4 of She-Hulk, which was called Hulk. And this is the Mariko Tamaki version where She-Hulk hated who she was. And this entire comic was kind of a riff on how awful the John Byrne version was and how sexist it was and just kind of really refuted that run. And here's the weird part. So remember, this article is about comics you should read to get informed about She-Hulk before watching the show. So what is this paragraph here? Talks a little bit about Mariko Tamaki and her run. This was an absolutely dreadful series, by the way. One of the major things that happened here was she was in a reality, or she had a reality show friend, a reality cooking show friend who got attacked, and it was canceled. This was not a good book by any stretch of the imagination. But here's the weird. While we may not see this side of She-Hulk attorney while we may not see that side of her in She-Hulk Attorney at Law, in other words, the TV show this entire article was written to prep you for, this is an important chapter in She-Hulk's history. No, it was not. No, bad. This chapter was a horrible seller, seen by many as a mistake. Introduced kind of a more savage version of She-Hulk that was somehow both smart and dumb simultaneously. It would show up in Jason Aaron's run. And then, several issues in, they would go ahead and do a little mini event called World War She-Hulk, where they reverted, they basically retconned or erased all of this. This was not an important run. This was a forgettable run that had absolutely nothing to do with the TV show, and Marvel has since banished from their basic memory. So, okay. Let's go to number 2. Okay, this is She-Hulk by Charles Soule. So this is from 2014. This was sort of a spiritual successor, kind of, to the Dan Slott run. It wasn't very good, to be blunt. It was not terrible, but Soule's take was kind of felt like Dan Slott light. It definitely, I think elements of this are going to show up in the TV show because she's an attorney and she's doing some things on it. But it was, I don't know. Charles Soule is an attorney, so it was kind of weird that this comic simultaneously didn't feel authentic from an attorney standpoint, nor as a superhero. But it was there. It's forgettable. Maybe some elements of this will be adapted to the TV show. I have no idea, but it was not there. So we only have one series left. And this is no surprise if we're talking about, what's going to be adapted to the TV show and everything else. But once again, well, I'll get to it in a second. So the number 1, She-Hulk single green female. This is the Dan Slott run of She-Hulk. And this was, she was involved in the Time Variance Authority, which showed up, of course, in Loki. And the writer was quick to point that out. But this run is probably going to be the one that's borrowed the most for the Disney Plus show, or at least heavily borrowed upon. And of all Dan Slott's work for Marvel, this one is one that many people feel is one of his better for the run. So what was left out? Well, as I said, there were 3 series that I enjoyed. She-Hulk that I thought really defined the character. And the first and super obvious one, which only an idiot would leave off the list, is the John Byrne She-Hulk run. She was an attorney in there. There's plenty of fourth wall breaking. It is considered probably the definitive take on She-Hulk. And when I say consider that, I mean, everybody has their own pace, but certainly that's what Amazon sales considers the definitive run. And that's what, in terms of comic sales, is probably her highest selling version, certainly higher than the other ones on this list, minus Secret Wars. But that John Byrne run, epic. And then I'd say you have the Fantastic Four run, also by Byrne, where she joined that team. That also had a bunch of definitive moments for She-Hulk and some very memorable stories. And then I would say her time on the Avengers. And she had a couple different runs on the Avengers, but certainly her lengthier runs through the 80s helped define She-Hulk and kind of flesh out her character, certainly from her first appearance. And that to me, you can make an argument the Avengers, I don't know, her solo books maybe, probably more important. If I was doing this list, I would have She-Hulk #1, the Stan Lee version with John Buscema. I would have the Dan Slott run on this because it will definitely fit and be relevant to the show. And then I'm doing the John Byrne Fantastic Four and the John Byrne solo She-Hulk series as my top. If I had to pick a fifth, I don't know. I guess I probably would agree with the logic of the writer and throw in the Secret Wars for the introduction of Titania and some of the other stuff, the Wrecking Crew attack and other things. Probably that's relevant for the supporting cast, the other people showing up. But definitely Charles Soule, fairly forgettable. And this Mariko Tamaki version, which has been completely erased in kind of Marvel lore, I don't even understand this, but that's what you got. So, John Byrne gets completely stiffed, no notice, not even a sub-note of the John Byrne run, which is absolutely baffling. Look at this. We got good news because here at Newsarama, we are well-versed in She-Hulk comics, as paralegals are in the law, and we picked out the 5 She-Hulk comics to be reading. They did borrow from John Byrne's run, even in the first episode, and they are clearly for the series. And so to leave it out completely is pretty much Newsarama giving the finger to John Byrne. They know exactly what they're doing, but that is absurd. So, hey, shout out to all the people on the John Byrne forums who somehow always find every video I ever do about She-Hulk. Good to talk to you. Good to see you. And what a bunch of bullshit. So let them have it. Thanks for listening.